Man, let's go. We are live on the M4 show. If you're on YouTube, you can see that we decided not to do video this time because video in Colombia is Sinclair, and it was choppy.
Yeah,
The
it
internet
was.
was not vibing with us. So we just like, you know what? Let's not put y'all through that
Right.
again. But what's going on, folks? We are in Portugal right now, and we've been recognizing a few patterns.
We have.
And we just left Colombia. Obviously, we're from America, and it just seems like there's a common sequence of events that happens
Hmm.
in most of these civilized places. And we want to get into it, but we also want to talk about patterns that you can see within your own family, within your own personal life, and how you can recognize those patterns and either intentionally keep them going for the better, or Sinclair,
Or stop them.
or stop them.
You don't have to keep them going.
All right, it might be time for a remix. All right, so that's what we're gonna talk about today. Hope y'all vibe with us. We'll try to do a little bit, still some visuals inside if you are watching on YouTube, but definitely check out the audio experience. You can go to the m4show.com and check out the audio only, and it's going to be a beautiful, amazing episode. Without further ado, Queen, are you ready? Cool. Let's get into it, y'all. Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at them4show.com, our Instagram at them4show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show. You notice new things when you're on the road. But welcome back, y'all, to the M4 Show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And of course, I have with me my beautiful, my slightly funny and humorous, but extremely beautiful and localicious queen herself. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sinclair,
Uh-huh.
aka the Health Nerd,
Target.
and I'm very hilarious and funny. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance.
You were very hilarious when you said those drinks were chink. We just left a really dope rooftop vibe bar in where are we at? Belém?
Belem.
In Belém. And yeah, the drinks we're drinking. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We are on stop number 2
Mm-hmm.
in our world tour, majority planned by the queen herself. So far, how's it going? I feel like we've been thinking about this tour, this trip, this vacation for at least 6 months, if not longer. How you feeling actually being in it, being 1/3 the way done with it? How you feeling about the trip?
It feels still surreal. Like I feel like each day you wake up, you're like, oh, wow, where am I again?
Hmm.
Um, but it is really nice to just be able to wake up and explore. And I feel like it's not quite as unplugged as I had hoped for,
Hmm.
but still able to like wake up every day and have some type of adventure.
Yeah.
And so that part is really cool. Like I feel like we've been like struggling knowing what day of the week it is because it just feels like every day is,
Thanks.
as a weekend basically. So it's one just super blessed. Like I really want to just appreciate that we are able to do this kind of trip at
Hmm.
this stage in our lives.
All right.
Um, and yeah, just really soaking it all in. I think the second half of the trip, I'm also
That's the
very
half.
excited. Yeah.
That's
Like
the half.
I'm really excited to go to the motherland. So
Hmm.
I'm like very much trying to be into the moment, but also like getting excited as the days count down to where Zanzibar.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a vibity vibe.
Vibey bye bye.
Huh? One more time.
Vibey vibe vibe.
Vibey, vibey, vibe, vibe.
Vibey vibe vibe.
With the vocals too. Appreciate you. Um, so one pattern, and I don't want to jump 100% into it, but you were already talking about like how we're blessed to be in this situation so early in our life. And I feel like a consistent pattern of America's lifestyle, but specifically like if we look at our parents, and this is not a shade to our parents, to our grandparents, and we're we talk about family patterns in general that we are observing, lovely people. I know we got a lot of our family members that listen, and we love you, we appreciate you. But one for sure pattern is just working for 30 years, 40 plus years, very honorable, right? Very dedicated, and it has given the life that we've been able to be blessed with for sure. But that is a pattern that I think we are in the middle of currently breaking right now.
Right.
And the fact that we're on this trip for 30 whole days, like that's something that I don't think the ancestors before us had the privilege and opportunity to do, but it's something that I know we want our future generations and kids to be able to do. Like, you want to take a trip for 30 days for six months, we want you to have that freedom and that cushion in the bank to be able to do it.
Right. Right. And not have to wait until retirement or wait until later in life. And I feel like that's what I think the average person does is, they may take the little trips here and there, but I think, because we were literally just I don't remember which Uber driver we had, but one of our Uber drivers
this was in Sacramento.
That was Sacramento. Yeah, you're right. Sheesh, we've been all over. That was literally the day before we left for this trip too. But we had an Uber driver that was talking about how he wants to travel the world, and he's like, "Oh, it's like 5 years away, or however many years away." And obviously it was like very admirable to want to travel the world, but like, dang, why you gotta wait 5 years? Like, just go now.
Just go. Just pack up, and he was already retired too. Just pack up and go. But I'm getting ahead of myself, Queen. Let me backtrack. Right. So everywhere we go so far, we've taken a food tour. Right. So we took a adult food tour in Colombia, and we got to see the history of Colombia through that food. We got to see the influence of Africa through that food. And then, of course, we came over here and we did a lot of the same thing, right? Food tour. And we saw the influence of not just Africa, but like the Muslim community, the Arabic community, the Asian community here in Portugal. But there's been a little bit of a pattern. Do you want to shed some light on what you feel like we're seeing it's for sure in America. We saw it in Colombia, and I think we're seeing it in Portugal. Just talk about that pattern.
So I think there's a lot of different patterns, and I hope I'm going to mention the right one that you're referring to. But I feel like the gentrification in general is a pattern where certain communities will be cast out or will be not allowed in the general or in the more
affluent
centralized kind of areas of a city, and so they're cast outward to kind of more outer parts of the city, where they then form their own communities out of necessity. They form their own restaurants. They create their whole kind of ecosystems,
right? Their own Black Wall Streets.
Because they are not able to interact with the other parts of the other communities, the other affluent communities. So they build up their own community, and a lot of times we see that it ends up thriving. And a lot of interesting and delicious foods will come out of it. Delicious foods will come out of it. Cultures will begin to blend and melt together, if you will. And I think we see a lot of cool fusions when that happens. And then, of course, other communities will kind of be like,
hey, what's going on over there?
What's going on? Hey, I want to see.
Oh, hey, let me in.
And then we just see it kind of, that's when the gentrification, I think, starts to come. And even yesterday in the
Moraria, I think that's what it is,
portion of Lisbon, our tour guide was explaining that is where a lot of the minority, again, Muslims, Africans, Asians, all of the people who are not allowed in the like really poppin', if you will, or affluent part of Lisbon were kind of cast out to, because they didn't want them in those parts of the city. And now it's kind of gone through that gentrification. Even he was like, you can notice it's kind of hipster now.
That's the word. Like, they don't say gentrification. They say it's hipster.
And it was giving that very hipster vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Just the clientele around was like, I know y'all weren't the clientele here like probably 10 years ago.
Right.
So it is interesting just to see that same pattern that happens in Iwood or Inglewood. Same thing where, people were cast out. It created this whole community, and now folks are coming back to gentrify and, casting the original people who were there out.
Yep, it was very, very well done, Sinclair. It was a good synopsis, right? And I think in seeing that, it's just interesting being an American. You think, or maybe because you're not exposed to other forms of gentrification, but you're just like, oh, this happens in America. This is an Inglewood situation. This is a Black Wall Street situation, a Bronzeville, Seneca Village, a San Francisco, a Oakland. But you fly across the world, and literally the same thing is happening to Black bodies and to minority bodies all across the globe. But makes you just, at least for us, made us stop and wonder, like, what other patterns are there that we are a part of that we're not necessarily seeing? And these can be global patterns, but we wanted to take a deep dive because obviously y'all know we focus on Melanated Married Millionaires. We want to take a dive on the family. What are patterns that we see within the family that we need to, yes, Queen?
Nothing to
Okay. Patterns that we see within the family that we need to be intentional about. So I asked you a question before the podcast. I'm gonna ask this question to everyone listening, but the question is, what is one pattern you want to keep in your family, right? It's something that maybe your grandma's always done, your dad's always done, auntie, you and your siblings, something that you've just always done. You want to make sure the next generations continue to do. What is one pattern you want to stop? This can be health, it can be wealth, job related, anything like that you want to just see stopped. And then the last question for the Queen and anyone listening is, what is a pattern you want to start? You want to be a trailblazer. You want to change the culture, all right? Queen, is there one you want to start with that you're just feeling good about?
Let's start with the pattern we want to / I want to stop.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a pattern a pattern that I have noticed in my family is not passing down of family history and culture. And I can see that on both sides of my family. So like on my dad's side of the family, I do know that my great grandparents migrated here from Cuba. And that's literally pretty much all I know. And I know that part of it is that we're a little bit removed being here in California while that side of the family is in Florida. But I think even looking at what has happened with my grandparents, so like my grandmother is the youngest of 14. And the first, I don't know exactly how many, but I think like the first half of her, the children and her siblings did learn Spanish. And at some point, someone came in, didn't like that they did not know the language, and so said like English only. And so from then on, Spanish was not kept into the family. So that there's always been that part of me that's like, dang, I have this Cuban blood in me. I have this Cuban culture, but even if I were to go visit, like I wouldn't. There's a disconnect there because that language was not passed down. So yeah, I feel like part of that's more tying into like the family culture and our culture heritage, if you will. Like I want to be sure to keep those aspects and not let any one individual be able to kind of change that in our family history. And then I would say on my mom's side, we have just and I think one thing to keep in mind is obviously times were very different. But there's a lot of family history that is lost of like, who's parents and who's like, for example, my Nana, right? We don't know who her dad was. She doesn't know who her dad was. And at some point, people knew that just was not passed down. And I think it was partially a shame thing. I don't really know, but that is like a whole part of our family tree that we will never know. And I would really like to not have that happen in the future. Like, good or bad, let's keep the history there. Let's not, chop down trees of the family tree just because we don't like what happened. So I think, we try to, document a lot of what we do and our
a lot.
and our family. I want to keep that culture alive so that even our children do that, their children's children do that, so we can keep the lineage going. And our great grandchildren can look back at these videos and see like, oh, who are these people, and really get to know us, because I think that there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool, being able to show your great grandkids like, oh, here's Devon Sinclair. Used to call him Sinclair 100 years ago.
Right.
Golly. But if I'm hearing you correctly, Sinclair, the pattern that you're seeing in your family is that there seems to be a erasure of culture and history, and you want that to stop moving forward.
Correct.
Right. So you want to be able to document well, to have family trees, photo albums, language, culture, cuisine, all that stuff. You want to make sure it gets passed down generation to generation.
Yeah, even like the recipes. I feel like and I know it's just not my family specifically, but we don't have.
Ain't nobody write down
recipes. We have no recipes written down. Like, let's start writing that down, or have it on video, just some type of documentation or some type of ritual, or rites of passage where you're taught the gumbo recipe,
like
something like that, to where it's not lost. So it's not just like, oh man, you remember Nana's gumbo? Like, so yeah, I just some form of keeping it alive.
Yeah, I do like that idea of that you learn recipes, and maybe like each year you learn a distinct family recipe until you master it. But then when you turn 16, or when you turn 18, or when you buy your first house and you move out on your own, then you're gifted. Here is the gumbo recipe. Now that you are the woman, the king, the queen of your own household, you need to know this recipe for your own house.
Yes,
I like that. One pattern that I want to see stopped is the pattern of divorce. And I think dysfunctional might be a strong word to umbrella all relationships, but not a healthy relationship. When I'm looking at most of my family, like parents, grandparents, uncles, there's only a few, and then A Maureen is really holding it down. I think Aunt Faye holding it down, but there's only a few that have been married happily and never divorced. And I feel like that, it's definitely a pattern that I want to stop. I want to make sure that our kids grow up in a house, and arguing's natural, arguing's okay, but being able to grow up in a house knowing and seeing, oh, my mom and dad love each other. I live in a household with both my parents forever. Right? I think that's just a beautiful thing. So that's something that I definitely want to see stopped, and it's on both sides, all sides of my family. And it's beautiful to see that your parents are still rocking, right? They have their little tiffs, right? But mostly it's just comedy at this point. Even they laugh at each other. But I think that's a good model of seeing a couple that have been together for 30 years.
Since 92.
So it's 31 years. Come on, shout out to Black Love in here. So I look forward to being that old couple walking down the street. Oh, how long have y'all been together? Oh, we've been together since 2019, little one. I just really love that. And like our kids be like, oh yeah, our parents been together for 50 years, for 60 years. I think that's just a good representation of love.
Yep.
Next question, Queen. Which one?
Let's go with the pattern you want to keep in your family.
Okay. Am I going first?
Up to you.
Okay, I'll go first. I think my parents and grandparents did a great job. There's a few. Well, I'll do two.
I have a few too. I'm not gonna lie. So
okay, good. Oh goodness. But one for sure is traveling. I know my mom did a great job at making sure that we go on family trips. Nationally, yeah, nationally. I like we went on a lot of like road trips growing up, like Santa Barbara, San Diego, San Francisco, Big Bear, Solvang. Like we saw a lot of California growing up. I'm trying to think if we did any international trips when I was younger. The international trips didn't start until they got older. But just we were a family that traveled together,
Right.
had experiences, did camping trips, and I feel like that was really cool and fun. That's something that makes me more confident and I don't know what's the other word, confident and just have that desire to travel now because I'm like, oh yeah, we used to travel growing up. I know my mom loves to travel. I know it's quote unquote safe. Like I know there's a lot of people that are afraid to travel, but I feel like for me, traveling doesn't seem scary. It seems like a safe and normal thing. And I think that's a gift that my parents gave me, and I want to continue to give to our kids. Like travel the world, see different experiences. You might not understand the language. That's okay. You'll be okay. There's Google Translate. Right. So yeah, travel. Another one is holidays. I think my family did an amazing job at celebrating holidays. I know there's always like, oh, like feelings around how you celebrate Thanksgiving, feelings around how you celebrate Christmas. I'm not getting into all those semantics, but just the fact that our family would get together, we would celebrate, we would have a good time, we would eat delicious, amazing food, right? Occasion stuffing, macaroni and cheese, sweet yam, Sinclair, honey baked ham, sweet yam, Sinclair.
You're saying that like you don't love these
No,
Chipotle yams.
your mama's Chipotle yams are fire.
Okay.
What else we have? Duck. Yeah, we just had so much food, good times. I remember like waking up in the morning, going out to the Christmas tree, and all the gifts would be out in sections and stuff. It was a movie. It was a movie, and I think that's another thing I want to definitely give to our kids, that pattern, that holiday spirit, and bringing the family together, right? Hopefully, cousins, aunties, grandmas, grandparents come over the house and just having a nice big vibe for the holidays. Those are my two that I want to keep going.
Yeah, you kind of stole all of mine, but that's okay.
That's good.
It is.
That's good.
It is. So we have those commonalities.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally number one on my list, I did have travel on here. And it was a lot of like national trips. I don't think we ever did international.
Except for Mexico, but that's basically California.
I'm trying to think. I don't even know that I went to Mexico. If I did, I don't remember. But I think that's something my parents did for like their honeymoon. I don't know that we went as a family. Hawaii was the closest thing, but that's still technically,
it's America.
Yeah. But yeah, we did travel though. Like I said, we went to Hawaii. We went to DC. We did a lot of road trips to all around California. So we did get to see, at least the US. We got a good portion, and just the exposure of being able to travel and go on vacation, and that was always very exciting as a kid. So I want to keep that. And of course, I feel like in our, once we do have kids, right, they might be more national, local trips, but eventually we do want to travel with the whole family internationally. Like, I think some people are just like, once you have kids, you'll never travel again. It's like, no, you just need to make it work. And that's definitely, in our plan.
You gotta train them, practice locally. All right, every trip to the park is, all right, can I trust you to come here? Here, when I say come here.
And then delicious home cooked meals was another thing.
You stole my whole list. Come on now.
This was written before you started talking. But yeah, delicious home cooked food.
Wish y'all can see me looking at the camera right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have been spoiled with two parents who can throw down in the kitchen.
That's a fact.
And so yeah, I just like I always knew that there was going to be good food at home. Like that was never a question. Of course, yes, I was picky with certain things, but it's like at the end of the day, I know if my parents are cooking, like it's going to be a good meal.
Right.
And I feel like even more so now, when they're like, "Oh, hey, come over, we're cooking."
No, for sure.
It's like, oh, it's done, right? And we bring Tupperware.
We taking a few places to go.
But yeah, it's just like even as much as we have traveled the world and had amazing food, there's just something about home cooked meals that is very nostalgic. So yeah, I definitely want the way I feel about my parents cooking is I hope how our kids feel about our cooking slash my cooking.
What? Sinclair. Sinclair. Y'all hear how she's trying to disrespect me here on this podcast? Like I don't cook the best steak she's ever had in her life.
You do cook a mean steak.
In her life?
A mean steak.
Sheesh. Like Granny didn't just say I made the best greens she ever had in her life. And that's grandma. Get off me, man. Get off me, man.
And then my last one, kind of aligns with your holidays. It was just entertaining. So I feel like my family, my household has always been a household where entertaining happened, whether it was the Super Bowl, birthday parties, Thanksgiving at Nana's house, our engagement party, like wherever we live has always been a central place where people would come over and have a good time, have some drinks, have some good laughs, have some good food. And I grew up with that, and I want to keep that going. I feel like we already do that a little bit. Or when we're in our condo, like we would have people over, had a game night and stuff like that. And I do like the aspect of entertaining. So I want to keep that going. Definitely.
All right, it's a good list. It's a good list. All right. So for the folks watching, listening, go ahead and think about. We still got one more question, but think about those two questions right there. What is one pattern you want to stop in your family? Right? Maybe you just got married. Maybe you found that lucky someone, and you're having these conversations. Have these intentional talks around. What does health look like in your family? What do holidays look like in your family? Are you used to traveling? Or you're not used to traveling? And as you build out your future family, or you continue to grow your family, what are those things that y'all want to keep going, and what are those things you want to stop? Now, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, Queen, and when we come back, the ask declare question is, what is one pattern or habit, tradition you want to start? You feel like it hasn't been in generations before, and you really want to make sure it's in every generation after. Sound good?
Look, we're going to get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA, and we wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game, right here. We had the first edition available in 2017. That got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode.
We are back at it. Last question for you, Queen. And the question is, what is one habit or piece of culture you want to start?
I would say entrepreneurship.
You stole mine.
I figured that was going to be on your list, but you have another one. So
I do.
That's not something I was really exposed to from family, or that I know of, that has been passed down a lot, or very much a part of my family's culture or past. So I would love for that to be a part of it moving forward. And I think that both of us have kind of been brought into the entrepreneurship life. And so our kids are going to naturally see that life. And hopefully, I mean, at least some of them, hopefully at least, go down, go down that path as well. Just for, the freedom aspect, the aspect that you're creating a product or a service and offering it to the world and really making that difference. So yeah, I think that is something that has been introduced to the future lineage with or will be introduced with us.
Oh yeah. And I think I want to take that one step further, Queen, if I may.
Please.
Is I want not just entrepreneurship to be a part of it, but small family business. And one day just straight up family business. But I feel like, at least for me, like entrepreneurship is in my family because my mom was an entrepreneur growing up. So I feel like I was exposed to that. But I think the idea of actually running, like, this is a business. We have employees, we have a brand, we have social media, we got payroll, we got profit and loss statements that someone's making, we got the business taxes, like actually building up, no disrespect to anyone else, but actually building up a family business that our kids can have a executive position in, and a business that's also able to make an impact, like we're already making that impact within schools, within families. And I think one day this is gonna be dope. We're not in, we're in a few stores now, and it's already cool to see. It'll be great to have our kids, and we're in a bookstore, we're in Target, we're in underground bookstore somewhere, and they just like, oh hey, that's the game that mom and daddy made. Like, that's just what? That would be dope.
So I have a technical question. If our children gain like executive positions in Play Black Wall Street, is that still considered entrepreneurship? Or are they working for somebody? Somebody's just our family.
Yeah. So they would not be entrepreneurs.
So I guess, it's mainly family business then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean to say, and this is an interesting part, because we've talked about, like, let's say if Kendry, say if Delton, Jerome, they really like film or they really like fashion. We're not necessarily in fashion, but let's say they wanted to start their own business under the umbrella of whatever we're creating. I feel like that might be a little bit more entrepreneurship. It's like, all right, Kendry, you do fashion, it's all yours 100%. We're going to put it under our brand, under the company. You can still use all these resources, but this is your company to run. I would still consider that entrepreneurship.
Gotcha.
But if one of them was like, I want to be the CEO of Play Black Wall Street, you are now a part of the family business.
Gotcha.
But I feel like still, like, having a family business is something that hasn't been done as far as passing it down a generation, right? Even Grandy, shout out to Grandy, she had her Great Circle Realty, right? And at some point, there were some family members that were working for that business, but it didn't get passed down to the next generation.
There's actually, or there was, I actually don't know the current state of it, a Wilson Funeral Home.
Yeah.
That was popping at some point.
Popping is a strong word. It's a funeral home, Sinclair.
I just mean
popping, bro.
Business wise,
Whose wife is this? Oh man, but no, I think your dad told me about that. Maybe we'll visit them when we're in Florida.
I can't remember if he said that they sold it to somebody or if it's just not there anymore. I don't remember, but I don't think it's any longer in the family.
Gotcha. So family run business. I love it. The next one that I want to definitely start is that Black pride, right? That Black pride, that strong African identity, not necessarily rejecting America. I think there's some folks that, go all the way over and they're just like, oh, forget America. It's like, I'm not quite there. I think America does have some very up and down history and past. But I think there are some blessings by being here in America and understanding that there is a cultural and historical difference between Ghana or Nigeria or Tanzania and someone who's been in LA and Oakland and Tanzania. I apologize, my worldly queen. But yeah, just being proud of both sides of that history, proud of what our ancestors have accomplished and invented and innovated here in America, but also proud of our deep roots and legacy that we have in Africa and finding that way of being able to blend the two. I feel like there hasn't been a huge rejection of Black identity from my family, but I feel like there hasn't been a huge acceptance of the African side because people haven't known. Right.
Haven't been exposed to.
Yeah, we've been the first generation to do our DNA and like literally be able to say this is specifically where we came from, Africa, right? Where family before that didn't have that technology. we've been privileged, or so far I've been privileged, and the Queen's about to be privileged to actually go to Africa, right? No one before us, besides the folks that were forced, have been able to touch down voluntarily in the motherland and explore. So I feel like those types of privileges have allowed us to be able to be, I think, a little bit more Afrocentric than our previous generations, and hopefully that'll keep going. Queen, anything you want to add before these people outside continue to yell? I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's going down outside. It is going down. It would be 11 o'clock at night, right outside our window. People be singing. There's a bar right downstairs. It's
like it's karaoke night.
It's a whole thing. But we still got two more days in Portugal.
Yes.
2 more days in Portugal. Right after this episode, lovely people, we are going to hit a Brazilian steakhouse in Portugal. Talk to me. Talk to me. So that's gonna be delicious. We'll take pictures and videos. Y'all know what's up. We also got a Jeep tour that we're doing on. That's tomorrow. That was sounding pretty dope from our friends Aaron and Amy from the States who went on the Jeep tour. And they're like, you need to go on this. So yeah, that's gonna be real fun. Real dope palaces, real nice views, history, all that good stuff. And on Tuesday, what we got?
Tuesday we have a sailboat tour. Yeah, that's it for Tuesday. We also tomorrow we have reservations at a very nice Michelin star restaurant.
That's right. That's what that is. So a lot of fun. Again, we encourage y'all to travel whenever you can. I know some of y'all listening may already have kids. You know, drop their little babies off at grandma's house, auntie's house, your best friend's house. The YMCA, drop them off somewhere. Not the YMCA. No, you're not a paying member. But you know, if you have the opportunity to travel, definitely, we encourage y'all to take that opportunity, save up for the entire year, and then take a nice trip. And then if you can take your kids, right, if they're old enough to where they can safely travel with you and y'all can still enjoy it, take the kids. It's a beautiful experience to be able to travel the world as a young one and just soak up that exposure. And you have no idea what type of things you might be able to spark in their imagination by them traveling with y'all. So that's one thing. And the other thing is definitely take a little bit of an inventory of the patterns within your family, right? What are those 3 questions that we asked this episode, Queen?
What is a pattern in your family that you notice that you want to keep, that you want to keep alive for future generations, current and future generations? What is a pattern that you notice in your family that you want to stop? So maybe that ends with you, or that ends with a past generation. And then what is a pattern that you want to start? So moving forward, starting with you and all future generations, a pattern or a habit that you would like to introduce to your future lineage.
Beautiful. Well done. We appreciate y'all tapping in, of course, to the M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making. We hope y'all secure the love. We hope y'all secure the marriage. And of course, we hope y'all secure the bag. Peace.
Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, anything, all of them, all of them, wherever you're listening, go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time.